Hey guys, I'm Claes from Masterclaes and welcome back to my series about my hybrid setup. Today we will be having a look at rack number 3. The first compressor we see here is a Neve 2254E. It's a dual mono stereo linkable compressor featuring the same stack as we saw with the 33609, but this is daddy. Fat daddy. Compared to a 33609, it offers a lot more beef, a lot more punch, still retaining the clarity, but it's darker. Same options, limiting, off, slow or fast, compressor on or off, and the limiter has a limiting level and a limiting recovery time. So the release time of the limiter is set here. The compressor is set to 4/1 with a release time of 400 milliseconds. That gives me on my drum bus everything I need. It just tightens the drums, it helps create that punch you're looking for, shaves off a little bit of the edge of the cymbals. But it's just an amazing thick compressor. The output of the 2254 goes into my pair of Pultecs. It's a pair of EQH2s. It's what I call the transparent sister of the EQP1A. It has a reduced tone stack, so I only have a low end and a high end, and I can boost and attenuate like you can do with an EQP1, but it's just more transparent, and that's why it suits so well to be paired up with the 2254. So I'm adding a little bit of low end. In this case it's 30 Hz. Might seem low, but since the EQ is this broad, if you boost the 30 Hz you get all the punch around 60 until 100 Hz. If I would have put it on 100 Hz, I would be actually pushing up until 200 as well. So I've got it set on 30 Hz. 8 kHz for the high end, also very broad, very musical. And I can boost, like here I've got it set on 3. I don't know how many dB that is, but I don't care, it just sounds awesome. If I have too much low end, I can also attenuate, and then you have this typical Pultec pushing and pulling on the frequencies, but I always start as standard with the attenuation off. Next compressor in the series is my Gates Sta-Level. The Sta-Level also full tube and very mu. So if I need to even out vocals that are jumping up and down, you know, I can go to the Gates and it will come out super steady. Bass gets glued together. And I've got the TubeTech to follow. This one is really thick sounding. This one is just one of the best transparent compressors you'll ever have. So for vocals or bass, you know, this is my go-to pair. If I'm not using, like here, my 1176, which is just a different kind of taste. These two get a treatment of 3 to 4 dB with the double release time, so it's a quicker release time than you put it on single, and then it goes into the TubeTech with a fairly fast attack time and a really slow release time, which actually matches the release time of this one, set to a pretty high limiting like ratio. It's set to 8/1 or 10/1. And also there it just glues everything together. The output of the TubeTech goes into my first 1073, the Neve 1073. These are racked by Brent Averill, but yeah, it's just a classic. It's one of the best musical EQs I've ever heard, and it just matches vocals and bass, and all the frequencies that are in there are just so nicely picked, and it works fantastic. So you have an EQ, on off, a polarity reverse, even though it says phase but it's a polarity reverse. A high pass filter with 50, 80, 160 or 300 Hertz. I've got a low end choosable in shelving 220, 110, 60 and 35 Hertz. Or you can just dial in. One of my favorite settings for vocals is turn it up 220 and then put the high pass filter on 160 and you'll get a really nice full vocal sound without creating rumble. Nice mid section. Of course you can turn it off as well. 360 Hertz, 700, 1K6, 3K2, 4K8 for that speech presence, 7K for it might induce a little bit of sibilance, so I'm not using that too often, but 3K2, push it up just a bit and the vocal just jumps into your face. I also have a 12K high shelf I can apply, so just boosting a bit of everything just makes it very colored but very nice sounding. A nice feature is that I have the preamp available, the mic preamp, so if I have a singer come in and I want to use my 1073 as a recording preamp, the only thing I have to do is turn the button to the desired setting. If I put it here on what they call -10, you'll actually be boosting your input signal by 10 dB. So this chain gates TubeTech, which induces a little bit of warmth in the sound, gets even augmented with my line driver, pushing it 10 dB up, and then because I have this pot meter that is an attenuator, I just turn it down until my gain structure is correct again. By doing that, I am pushing the transformer, and you know, with Neve everything is about the sound of the transformer, so I'm adding color and adding just flavor to the sound. For the next compressor we had to come down. Teletronix LA2A. It's a UA classic, so it's a remake of the original, but it's exactly the same. This one gives me years and years of pleasure because it has just newer components. It's a tube-based compressor on the input and the output stage, and it uses an optical compressor cell, the TA4B. Warm, musical, fat sounding, not as tight as the LA3A, which is the successor of the LA2A, but it just imparts that really nice tubey color. This gets paired with a JBL URI 7110. It's a VCA compressor, but what's neat about it is that I have a peak or an average detector circuit on the sidechain. I've got it set up with a fast attack and a fast release, so I use it to shave off some peaks. This output goes back into Neve 1073 number 2, also pushing a little bit of the transformer and reducing the output. The core of the input-output section is this pair of Apollo 16s. So here I can easily monitor my inputs and outputs going through my gear, and it's just a very good AD-DA converter. Here at the bottom you'll see a pair of 31105s. They're not used at this moment. Also, I've got my amp for my NS10s. Why these NS10s? Well, first of all, I really like them as speakers. I grew up with them. I did my first listening to great records on them, and I think they belong in every studio. I have these. Why? Because if I'm tweaking my gear here and my speakers are back there, I don't get a good reference. So whenever I'm tuning, I have speakers that are directed near me. I also have a pair of tiny Genelec set up. They are on bus B of my SSL6 mixer. This gives me a great reference as well. So if you like this video, please slam the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll be back with another video talking about my effects rack. See you. Bye.